Katt Williams is teaming up with Mel Gibson to expose how Hollywood demands sacrifice and humiliation in exchange for fame. Katt is backing up everything Mel highlighted in his work, and looking back, some of Mel's statements from 20 years ago predict exactly what is happening in the industry today. Seeing these warnings makes you wonder what else Mel knows. He previously noted that while a person might get mugged or insulted in New York, the environment in Los Angeles feels more like people want to sacrifice you. He recalled how mind-blowing and dark that reality was when he first discovered it. Today, one of the most disturbing problems in our world is human trafficking, particularly involving children, and the first step in eradicating this crime is awareness. Mel Gibson started acting when he was just 12 years old, and the things he witnessed horrified him. Casting couches, humiliation rituals, and parents letting directors do whatever they wanted to their children were just some of the horrors Mel saw, which ultimately drove him to quit the industry altogether. Since his return, he has focused on projects that shine a spotlight on these dark realities. Mel made it clear that every horror story you have ever heard about Hollywood is true, and the most evil things you can imagine are actively happening in the industry. After getting a gutful of the bizarre nature of Hollywood, he took a few years off, bought a place in Australia, and focused on a simpler life of farm work just to take a much-needed breather. The worst part of the system is that if you speak out against the abuse, your career is finished. It does not matter if the victim names the director or producer involved. The only one who suffers consequences is the victim. The moment Mel tried to raise his voice against the industry, his awards and success no longer mattered. He was instantly labeled as crazy and blackballed because the industry protects the criminals. For example, accusations against prominent figures, such as those involving X-Men director Bryan Singer, describe regular, drug-fueled attacks on minors at private mansions. Victims have described networks of powerful individuals who use intimidation tactics, claiming they control Hollywood and can eliminate anyone who does not keep them happy. Many have recounted horrifying experiences of being drugged, abused, and treated like a piece of meat passed around by evil people. Mel also spoke about his own experiences as a child actor, noting that the moment he stepped into a director's room, he could feel the predatory nature of the environment. This type of environment is not a secret. It functions as an initiation process that many child actors are forced to go through. What shocked Mel the most was how the parents seemed completely fine with it, knowing exactly what was happening to their children, but not caring as long as they got paid. When Mel first came to Hollywood in his mid-20s, he had intense suspicions about the strange behavior around him. At first, he tried to dismiss it as paranoia, convincing himself that his worst nightmares could not possibly be real, only to find out later that his instincts were exactly on track. This toxic environment is the reason so many child actors develop severe mental health problems later in life. Oscar nominee Terrence Howard backed up Mel's claims, specifically discussing the mental suffering of child stars who turn to substances to drown out their memories. Terrence explained that dealing with such an unhealthy space forces people to go too far just to cope, leading to tragic outcomes for many young talents. He described this compromise as losing your manhood, giving up your rights and spiritual energy out of fear or a desire to gain something. According to Terrence, this was the reality for people who attended high-profile elite parties, thinking there would never be consequences, only to end up compromised by a greater desire for fame. None of this is new. It has been going on since Mel first stepped into Hollywood. In 1988, former child star Shirley Temple spoke out on national television about her experiences with inappropriate behavior from powerful studio executives at MGM when she was just 12 years old. She revealed how she was separated from her mother and subjected to completely inappropriate exposure by a prominent producer. Being so young and naive, she laughed it off at the time, which infuriated the producer and got her kicked out of the office. When she told her mother, she discovered that the studio heads had targeted her mother as well. Both realized that surviving in Hollywood meant navigating a culture where you either accept this behavior or get pushed out. To be successful in Hollywood, people are often expected to tolerate this corruption and help cover up crimes. This complicity is the only reason the tradition of abusing child stars has lasted so long. The actions of figures like Harvey Weinstein were open secrets that everyone knew about, but no one addressed. When Mel realized he was surrounded by this environment, he chose to walk away. He noted that the industry will rip your life to pieces if you let it, constantly pounding at your boundaries. No matter how strong your convictions are when you enter the industry, you will be affected by its dictated behaviors, and it takes a specific kind of resilience to survive without letting it eat you alive. Hollywood is not just impacting young actors, it is also pushing specific agendas and sidelining anyone who disagrees. Katt Williams has spent years pointing out how certain demographics, particularly Black actors, are pressured into degrading or emasculating roles as a form of ritualistic humiliation. While some dismiss this as a conspiracy theory, many major actors have faced the exact same professional pressure. Dave Chappelle famously shared his own experience of refusing to wear a dress for a movie scene, describing how the writers and directors immediately pressured him, using guilt tactics about production costs and claiming that all the greats did it. By refusing to comply, Dave highlighted how the industry uses these setups to test compliance and control talent. Some of the biggest names in Hollywood achieve their positions by participating in these degradation rituals. A consistent pattern shows a celebrity humiliating themselves on a public stage, followed immediately by massive multi-million-dollar deals. Katt Williams argues that these occurrences are far from a coincidence, defining a ritual as something repeated systematically to achieve a specific result. Beyond behavioral control, Mel Gibson also noticed a systemic push against traditional values and faith. When he sought to release his film, The Passion of the Christ, secular Hollywood resisted fiercely. Major film studios refused to fund or distribute it, forcing him to release it independently. Despite the industry opposition, the film became a massive success, proving the public desire for stories the elites tried to suppress. Both Katt and Mel have been fighting against the same network of industry elites. Because film studios and executives align with this group, audiences continue to see the same patterns play out. It is also why both men have faced blacklisting for speaking out against the corruption they observed. Katt noted that fighting against these structures comes at a great personal detriment, often resulting in media attacks and industry isolation. He highlighted Dave Chappelle as an example of someone who refused to belong to these elite circles. The difference with Katt is that he fully understands the consequences of his actions and recognizes the industry for what it truly is. According to Katt, even highly publicized industry controversies, like major celebrity disputes on award stages, function as calculated stunts rather than random events. In a business built entirely on make-believe, public downfalls are often managed to shift financial benefits away from the artists and back to the executives. Katt points out a pattern that the public is finally starting to recognize after decades of allegations being ignored or buried to keep the money flowing. Only when legal exposure and public outrage threaten the bottom line does the industry pretend to care. Mel agreed that while shining a light on these dark regions is painful, it is a necessary process for real change to occur, signaling a massive upheaval that has shaken Hollywood to its core. Following high-profile exposures of figures like Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein, more actors have felt safe enough to come forward. However, a culture of complicity remains, driven by the fear of being blacklisted or the normalization of predator behavior as just the way business is done. Former child star Elijah Wood has also spoken out about the dark underbelly of the industry, comparing the protection of powerful abusers to historical scandals in the British media where claims were swept under the rug for decades. Similarly, Corey Feldman previously stated that the absolute #1 problem in Hollywood is the predatory behavior targeting young actors, directly blaming powerful executives for the tragic downfalls of his peers. Mel Gibson has long argued that fear keeps people silent, but for him, integrity matters more than financial gain. When the industry cannot silence a voice, the tactics often turn much darker. Katt Williams has raised questions about the numerous unexplained deaths of artists over the years, suggesting that when an artist is eliminated, corporations often save millions by nullifying contracts and redirecting profits. There is a clear divide between the creative side and the corporate side of the entertainment business. Do you think Hollywood protects its most powerful figures, or are these stories being blown out of proportion? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an inside look at the industry's biggest secrets.